So I'm working on an article explaining why I think South of Midnight didn't resonate with people. It's somewhat long and definitely going to contain spoilers for the game. Some of the stuff I'm going to be talking about, most people didn't even get to. So in an effort to make something that everybody can be a part of, I'm going to break down the opening scene to this game and explain why I think it doesn't work, and why I think it's particularly telling of modern day story writing. So the prologue starts off, it starts building the world, it starts explaining the concept of threads and weavers, these people who are supposed to be able to help heal trauma. Every so often a storm happens and it brings about these powers. Hazel's mom is running late coming home, and I want you to take particular notice of this. There's a storm that seems hell-bent on drowning the whole South. Okay, so we're setting up a sense of urgency. Our main character is packing an emergency box for the evacuation. And then they reiterate again, it's a mighty big storm. And so now we're introduced to the main character, and what is she doing? Sitting on her bed, reminiscing about the past. So she's half worried about her mother, but she's also complaining that she's in charge of doing all the packing herself. So now, for some reason, the game decides this is a good opportunity to give you background about the characters. Let's walk around the mobile home, let's look at pictures, let's reminisce about the time we went to the fair. We've also got to take this time to set up the fractured relationship between me and my mother over my deceased father. So Hazel realizes she's got to start packing. The way she's acting, it seems like she's going off to college. Okay, so now mom comes home. You'd think there'd be some sort of sense of urgency. We got to get out of here. But no, instead we argue about how unfair it was. Mom comes back with, well, you're young and spry. Like that has anything to do with calming my nerves about a hurricane. Okay, finally, some urgency. Mom says we have 5 minutes. Did you pack everything? Suddenly, this isn't my first hurricane. I'm a grown-up. I know what I'm doing. Okay, so maybe that's why she's acting lax, because it's not a big deal? No worries, I have my hurricane checklist. Again, what are we going for here? I get that you want to establish the relationship between the characters, but is this storm something we should worry about or not?
Shoes? You know how expensive those things are. You best find somewhere to pack them.
And pack them light. Yeah, I know.
What'd you say?
I said, and pack them light.
Pack
Ooh.
a bag, then pack.
What are you doing? Is it a fucking flash flood? Let's get the fuck out of here. What the fuck is this, dude? What the fuck is this?
And then she follows that up with, do you think this place will still be here after? So this is the part where they bring in the exposition about her grandmother and how her mom doesn't get along with her mother-in-law. So now they have to have some sort of fight so they can establish regret for later. Those are the last words I said to my mom. I shouldn't have said those things. Those were mean. And then how do we split up the two characters? Go check on the neighbors. So my mom sends me to go check on my hillbilly neighbor and the old lady next door, both of whom are not evacuating. They're just going to ride the storm out. And I shit you not, the old lady invites me in to have some gizzards, to which I reply,
You know I can't say no to your cooking.
oh Lord. And so while I'm in there complaining and shooting the shit with the old lady, my mom and my home are swept up by the storm, which sets in motion the events of this game. Now, I don't know if other people had as much of a problem with this sequence as I did, but to me, it just shows how amateur the scenario writers are. There's obvious tropes that they're trying to hit. The resilient country folk, the tough as nails granny, southern hospitality. But you really have to decide what is important about this scene. What message are you trying to convey? What is the important information? But they're so enamored with trying to hit this checklist of world building that they're quite literally cutting the legs from underneath the mobile home. I feel that any of these sequences could have been done at a later time, in a different scenario. You run into the old lady again later, but it's not an interaction that particularly relies on this first meeting. And so this goes into one of my complaints about modern day story writing. It's that everybody knows what the powerful scenes should look like. Your home getting swept up in the storm, your dead wife, some sort of tragedy. The problem is people don't know how to set these scenes up. They're relying on the fact that these scenes existed before and that people can automatically identify with them. Like some sort of internet meme where all you need to do is replace the subjects. This isn't even a particularly difficult skill. All you really need to do is put yourself in the character's position and run through the scenario one by one what you would do. And naturally, it should flow in a way that makes sense. But again, these modern day writers are so focused on, let me check off all these boxes. Let me make sure I include this scene, make sure this character has its time. Let me get this joke in there. It ends up becoming this Frankenstein of mashed up parts. And I think that's more of the reason why this game failed to resonate with people. Whether they realize it or not, I think unconsciously something just didn't sit right with them. Because most of the people I talked to only played an hour or two into this game and then put it down. Yeah, so anyways, that's it. That's the breakdown for the opening scene. There's actually more discussion to be had about this game, particularly around the game's theme of generational trauma and how poorly it handles the ending, in my opinion. But that's a discussion for another time. If you've made it this far, thanks for sticking around. We'll see you next time.